Hey guys, this is Dan, and today we're going to be looking at the 7 essential tricks you need to master in order to ace a job interview with Excel. All right. Now, these 7 essential tricks, they're going to make your life easier. You fake it until you make it. Well, this is the case. We're going to teach you, you're not going to learn pivot tables or anything, but at least with these 7 essential tricks, you're going to look like an absolute Excel god in front of anyone you want to impress. Either interviewers or a significant other or whatever, anybody that you can impress with your Excel skills. This is going to look like you are the actual expert in Excel, all right? So let's get started without further ado. All right, guys. So we're going to be looking at 7 essential tricks right here, and the first one that I want to start with is the drop-down list. Now, the drop-down list might not be the most essential one, but it is the one that's going to get you the most wows from other people. All right, so let's see how it works. Say, for example, what's the use of that? Well, I have here a place where I can select a dish. All right, I have here a place where I can select a dish. Notice how I have my drop-down list already made here, where I can click on this little icon and select, say, for example, an iced tea or citrix or salmon or a Corona beer, and it's all coming out of this list right here. This is the one that's fitting my drop-down list. Now, how would I go about creating a drop-down list? Well, first let me undo this list from over here, and then let me show you how it's made. All right. So first thing that you want to do is, when you get the file, go over to cell C9, all right, and make sure that you pick cell C9. Once you're there, you're going to move your mouse over here to Data tab, and then you're going to move over to Data Validation. Now, guys, if you're watching me from a laptop or a small screen, it's not going to say Data Validation. It's just going to have this little icon over here. So make sure that you squint very carefully because it's a little hard to see. All right. When you click here in Data Validation, you're going to get this menu right here, all right? And by default, it's set to allow any value, all right? When it says any value, it means any value. Here, let me show you. I should only be able to choose stuff from this list, but if I type in salmon like an absolute idiot, it's going to let me do that, all right? And if I try to type in something that's not on the list, say, for example, coconut meat, then again, it's going to let me do that. All right, so I was here in data validation. I'm going to tell it to allow just a list. All right, allow list. And the only thing that it's going to ask of me is the source. So I'm going to click here on source, and I'm going to go back here into my list, and I'm going to select everything. All right, everything right now. So I'm going to press OK. And going back up here, I'm going to select my list. All right, notice how whenever I select the cell, now the drop-down list is ready. All right, now the drop-down list is ready. I can now select something out of here, breaded tacos or 4-cheese pasta, whatever. If I try to get too cute by half, say for example I wanted to type in cornbread, but I don't know how to type cornbread, so I'm going to type in cornbread. All right, I am going to get an error from Excel. It's not going to let me. And I can either retry or cancel, all right? It's not going to let me. If I try to type in something that's not in the list, say, for example, human heart, again, it's not going to let me do that because what kind of restaurant serves human hearts, all right? So it's pretty much useful to make sure that you don't develop any mistakes here. Guys, I once worked for a kitchen factory whose main client was Chedraui. That's the... it's a big French retail store. So we had a bunch of people typing into the sales list that they sold stuff to Chedraui, then that they sold stuff to Chedraui Inc., then that they sold stuff to Chedraui, all right, because they didn't know how to type it in, then to Chedraui Inc. with a dot, all right. When you try to analyze this data, it's going to show up as 4 different stores, all right? As far as Excel is concerned, these are 4 different entities. So you're going to run into a lot of trouble. But when you use drop-down lists to make sure that people type in data correctly, you're going to force them to just use the data that you want, all right? Just make sure to use the data that you want, and that's it. All right, guys? So That's it for drop-down lists. I'm going in the order of what is the most impressive to least impressive, all right? Not necessarily usefulness. Drop-down lists, you're not always going to use them, but always make sure that when you're trying to impress someone, you try to shoehorn them in somehow, all right? Because actually looking at the little tab over here and looking at the list makes people go, wow, all right? You might be an absolute nincompoop in Excel, but this is going to help you fake it until you make it. All right, guys? Now, next up. Inserting rows and columns using the keyboard, all right? Anybody can insert rows and columns, but using the keyboard, that's something different. All right, so these are marriage statistics for Mexico by county. You don't need to know anything about that, all right? You don't need to know anything about that. What we're going to be trying to do here is insert columns and rows using the keyboard. Now, guys, if you're asked to insert any column between F and G columns, most people would do the following. They'd grab their mouse, go over here and select G, and then right click on G, and then come down here to insert, all right? And that would get me a new column between F and G. Now, if I want to insert 3 more columns, then what you would do would be come over here to G again, click on it, right click, and then select insert, and then right click again and select insert, and right click again and select insert. All right, notice how boring that was and how unwieldy it was and how much I looked like someone that doesn't know what he's doing. All right, now let's try that again, but using our keyboard shortcuts. This is going to be really simple. The first thing that you want to do is learn how to select an entire column using your shortcut. So I'm going to select my G column by clicking on Ctrl Space, all right? So just make sure that you're in any cell of the G column and then press Ctrl and Space on your keyboard at the same time. Now I get my G column, all right? Now you want to go ahead and press Ctrl and plus on your keyboard at the same time. And that is going to get you extra columns, all right? Whenever you want to insert a new column, just make sure that you have a column selected and press Ctrl plus, all right? Now, you have another option. You could just select your G column and with the Shift key, hold down the Shift key and press the right arrow key, move however far right, however many columns you want, all right? So if I want to insert 4 new columns, I'm going to select 4 columns and then press Ctrl plus. And there we go. We get our 4 columns right there, all right? Now I press Ctrl minus, Ctrl plus, Ctrl minus, Ctrl plus, Ctrl minus. That's it, all right, guys? Ctrl plus will insert new columns, and as you might have surmised, Ctrl minus will remove, all right? So if I want to get rid of data for people that married from 15 to 19 years old, for women that married from 15 to 19 years old, I'm just going to select my H column, Ctrl plus, and in order to remove it, I'm going to press Ctrl minus, all right? Ctrl minus removes. Now, that's it for columns. The same thing works for rows. Now, only make sure that in order to select rows, you have to press Shift and Space, all right? Shift and Space, so Shift and Space. So these are all of the delegations for Mexico City. If we wanted to add a new delegation for some absurd reason, I don't know, if they created something new, then I would select this row over here. This is a state called Jalisco. I'm going to select Shift and Space and then start adding new rows. So Shift and Space selects a row, and then when I press Ctrl plus, it's going to start adding rows, all right? Now, the same logic applies when we're working with rows as when we were working with columns. If I wanted to add 10 rows in one single stroke, then I just select the 10 rows right here and then press Ctrl plus, I get my 10 rows right there, all right? Now, supposing that one of these delegations was to be wiped off the map, say for example Álvaro Obregón, it no longer exists. Then I have to delete the row. All right, just go over here, select the entire row with Shift Space, and then press Ctrl minus. That deletes rows, all right? And the same logic applies. If I were to select a bunch of rows and then press Ctrl minus, all of those rows would be gone. All right, guys? All right, so with that done, then now you know how to move about and select and insert columns with the keyboard. A lot of people already know how to move about with the keyboard, but inserting, selecting columns and rows and deleting them with the keyboard, not a lot of people know how to do it. If you actually memorize these shortcuts and you move using the keyboard in front of other people, they're going to think you're an absolute Excel god. Even if you don't know how to do anything else, if you don't know pivot tables or formulas or whatever, moving with the keyboard is a surefire way to make people think you know what you're doing. All right, so that's why it's so important. Also, it saves you time, up to 30%. So yeah, it's also important for practical reasons. All right, guys, next one, text to columns. This is going to be a really interesting one. This only applies if you're working for a big company that actually has its own database. And whenever you pull data from the database, you're going to run into a bunch of problems, all right? The most common problems that you run into is this one, all right? We have here a column called price, and this one should be called revenue. All right, so this one that's price, whenever we select the data, notice how it has a little green tab. All of the data have green tabs, and whenever I click on it, I get this little exclamation sign. So I'm going to click right here on the exclamation sign, and it's going to tell me that the error is that the number is stored as text, right? So I can still sort of work with that. Check it out. I can still add the data even though it's text. I'll get 1700. But if I try to use this in pivot tables or VLOOKUPs or more complicated formulas, I'm going to run into a bunch of trouble. So it's not ideal to have numbers stored as text. Now, how would I go about fixing that? Well, the normal way to do it would be come over here, select the number, then click on the admiration sign and the exclamation sign and tell it to convert to number. All right. So there we go. We fixed that problem. Next up, convert to number. And then next up, convert to number, and so on until, well, I have 10,000 pieces of data right here. So you figure out how much it's going to take. All right. So that's not going to work. Now, another solution a lot of people would tell me is, all right, go select all of the data. And once you have all of the data selected, you can mass convert to number. All right. Problem is, a lot of computers can't take that. All right. If you don't have a latest generation Intel i7 core in your computer, it's just going to freeze, all right? It's just going to freeze, and you're probably going to lose your work. So that's not something that you want to happen to you. All right, guys. So I'm not going to click on it because I know it won't freeze, but it probably is going to take a minute doing that, and you don't want to see that. So that's not the way to fix it. The actual way to fix it is a little bit, something that you wouldn't suspect. We're going to select our entire column using your keyboard, obviously, because you already know how to do that. And once your column is selected, you're going to go over here to where it says insert, where it says data, and you're going to select this thing called text to columns. Now, text to columns was meant for something entirely different, but we're going to use it right now for converting this thing right here, all right? And it's going to be really simple. Just press on the text to columns button and you get the wizard, all right? Now, the wizard is going to ask you a bunch of stuff you don't care about. As soon as it opens, you just make sure that you come over here and press finish, all right? And notice how it sort of fixed your problem, all right? It fixed it, yeah, but it also dragged the data all the way up to the beginning of column F, all right? So the only thing that you have to do is cut the data that you selected and paste it right here. All right, just make sure that the selection is valid. All right, so we're going to cut the data starting from here and paste it down here, and there we go. We have our data as it was meant to be. The only thing that we have is a bunch of formatting issues, but we shouldn't be so hung up on that because it just saved us a ton of work for fixing all of this data. All right, now this only applies for the first one. Notice how for the second one, revenue, I'm going to do the text to columns thing again. All right, so let's go over here to where it says data. Let's select text to columns. Let's click finish, and notice how it doesn't do the whole drag that thing up again. All right, so again, we already converted it. All right, the only thing that you have to note is that this only works in a column by column basis. All right, you can't convert several columns at once. And with that, we've removed our mistake. Now, guys, another thing that you could do for text to columns is, that should be saying date, is fixed dates, all right? A lot of the times, the dates that you're being presented with, they are not dates, but serial numbers, all right? So you have right here that this is 4 years, 2017, of the 08th, that's a month, of the 27th, all right? That's the day. Now, you can't work with this as a date in Excel. Excel is not going to recognize that. Not only that, it's telling you that the number is stored as text. However, if you want to convert this to an actual date, you can't just go through the same procedure. Text to columns is going to save us again, yes, but it's going to involve a different procedure. So guys, let's go over here and select our entire column. go to a Data tab and select Text to Columns. All right, once you're there, you're going to select Delimited and press Next. You're going to ignore absolutely the second step and press Next. And now that you're in the third step, this is where it gets interesting. The column data format, you're going to tell it to use the date format, all right? And right now, date that it's suggesting is day, month, year, all right? That's not what you want. You have year, month, day. All right, you want to go to where it says year, month, day, because this is the exact same order that we're being presented with here. So you select year, month, day, press finish, and notice how we get all of the dates, they're ready to go. All right, guys? They are actually useful dates that we can insert in pivot tables and stuff like that. All right, next up, AutoSum. I always tell my students this, both in online and offline, and they always forget this one, all right? I don't know why. AutoSum is pretty much one of the most important tricks you can learn, both to impress people and to save time on your own, all right? So, how is it that it's going to work? Well, most beginner Excel users would do the following. If they wanted to sum everything for region 1, they'd start typing this one plus this one plus this one plus this one. All right, if you try to pull this off in an interview, you're done. All right, this shows that you don't know Excel. This shows that you're going to be a pretty slow worker, and pretty much you're sending every single negative message that you don't want to send. Not only that, but it's prone to errors like the one I just committed there. So this is something that you don't want to do. Now, most normal Excel users, they'd go ahead and type in the following: a sum function where they select all the data from the first region, and that's it. All right, guys. Now, this was fast, and it shows you sort of know how to use Excel, but it's not neither the fastest nor the most impressive way to do it. Now, the best way to do it is come over here and select everything. All right, make sure that you select everything, including the total areas where you're going to be typing in these sums. All right, the total, well, the sum totals. All right. Now, once you have selected everything on your keyboard, you're going to press Alt and equals. All right, Alt and equals at the same time, and that is going to get you your sum total. All right, that is going to get you your sum total. For absolutely everything. Notice, check it out again. Just press Alt and equals at the same time, and you have the sum total for every row and every column calculated at the same time. All right, guys? So that is something that's really important and really interesting for you to note. When you're doing additions in Excel, you can just use the Alt and equals shortcut, and you will do it so much more faster. All right. Now, something else to keep in mind about the Alt equals shortcut is that, say, for example, I'm out here and I'm trying to add the sum total of absolutely every sale in every region for every month. So I'm going to type in my title. Total is going to be equals to, and I'm going to press Alt equals. All right. It's going to try and guess what I'm trying to do, but it's not right. All right. I'm not trying to add up everything on this line. So I'm going to grab my mouse without pressing Enter. And then I am going to go and select every single data from the region and the month. Press Enter, and there you have it. All right, press Enter, and there you have it. We get the sum for everything. So guys, this is how AutoSum works. It's really important that you know it, both for impressing people and for your own purposes. All right, next one up, remove duplicates. Say, for example, we have over here a list of data, and you're being asked to know how many different cities there are in this list. All right, how many different cities there are in this list. You have two options. You could use a pivot table, which is beyond the scope of this video, or you could use something called remove duplicates. So how does remove duplicates work? It's pretty simple. Make sure you select your entire column that you want to figure out how many different cities there are in this instance. So we select the entire B column, and then you're going to copy and paste it somewhere far away from your original table. Why? Whenever we use remove duplicates, it actually changes the structure of the column. All right, so we don't want to mess up our original table. Now that we have copied and pasted it, I'm going to select my entire column again. I'm going to move over here to my Data tab, and once I'm in my Data tab, I'm going to press Remove Duplicates. I'm going to get this dialog box, which I do not care about. I'm just going to press OK without actually looking at anything. And there we go. We are being told that we found 6 cities, a title, and this empty space up here. So if you're being asked how many different cities there are, using remove duplicates, you can actually figure out there are 6 different cities on this column. All right, guys. The alternative is using pivot tables. Nothing wrong with that. I don't have anything against it. It's just that this is something that very few people know how to do. And again, it looks actually quite impressive when you're doing it in front of someone else. All right. Now, next up, flash fill. This is something that I love. This is something that I always tell my students on the online and offline course, and they always forget. All right. Flash fill is really important when you're trying to separate text. All right. So how's it going to work? I'm going to have the full name here, and flash fill is going to help me separate it into first and last names. All right. The only thing that's being asked of me is that I provide a training piece of data here. So Juan Perez, I'm going to separate it by hand. I'm going to type in Juan and Perez here. That's wrong. Perez. And now I can do flash fill. So guys, how would we go about that? Well, flash fill only works on a column by column basis. So the first thing I need to do is select every piece of data, including my training data, where I want flash fill to be applied. Now, next up, I'm going to go over here where it says home. And in home, I'm going to select my fill menu. Guys, again, if you're watching me from a laptop or from a very small screen, it's not going to show up with the fill letters here. It's just going to have this little tiny icon here, which is horrible. You're going to have to squint to make sure that you actually get it. All right. So once you open the menu, flash fill is down here at the very bottom. And guys, it's only available from Excel 2013 onwards. If you're watching me with Excel 2010 or Excel 2007 for some reason, you're just going to have to watch us with envy. All right. Because you don't have access to this function. All right. Press flash fill and it's going to fill up with all of the first names. Notice how it did a perfect separation there. All right. And now the same thing is going to apply right here. I select everything and I could go over here to fill and flash fill, but I could also use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl E. And again, it gives me the exact same result. Guys, a note here that you have to consider. Flash fill only works when you have names that have the exact same amount of names. All right. A first name and a last name. Notice how no one here has a middle name or a composite last name or anything else like that. Flash fill starts failing when you have a mix of people with 2 names and 3 names and 4 names and 5 names and so on. All right, guys, that's when it starts failing. So what you have to do is start separating out, and the people with 2 names, you put them into one bucket, and the people with 3 names in another bucket, and the people with 4 names in another bucket, and then you can do your separations. I have another video on that on my channel, but that's beyond the topic of the scope of this video right now. All right, guys, so that's how flash fill works. Make sure that you learn it and understand it, because separations are going to be your bread and butter if you're working with Excel. Even if you're a financial analyst, at some point you have to separate data. All right, next, last but definitely not least, is transposing. All right, we have here a tax table, so that makes it a horrible table to begin with. But it's even worse because it's not given as a vertical table. All right, this table right here is showing me a horizontal table where the titles are going down and the data is going to the left. All right, this isn't going to work for me. So what I want to do is I want to transpose it. The first thing that you should do is, if you get a table like this, is make sure that you stop talking to whoever gave this to you. They don't know what they're doing. All right, but secondly is you're going to select data and you're going to copy it, and we're going to turn it around. So once you've copied it, go select a piece of real estate in your spreadsheet that you actually like, that's empty, far away from everything else. And now you go over here to home. All right, now let's select the paste button. Make sure you select the second half of the paste button in order to open this little menu right here. All right, and then you go over here and select transpose. All right, then you come over here and select transpose. It's not until you click on the transpose button that you are going to get your transposition ready. All right, and notice how the table is now something that's eminently readable, and you can actually work with it with this table in Excel. You can apply pivot tables to it. You can apply formulas like VLOOKUPs and some ifs and pretty much everything you want. Now, guys, there's a faster way to transpose. All right, I could select my entire region, copy it, and then move over here, and instead of pasting with my mouse, I'm going to paste with my keyboard. All right, I'm going to use my Alt keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to press Alt H V T. All right, this shouldn't be pressed at the same time. It's supposed to be continuous. Alt and then H and then V and then T. All right, and you release one key after the other. Notice again how I do it. Alt H V T. Alright guys, one after the other. I know you heard the key taps, the key presses. It's one after the other, and I release one before pressing the other. Alright guys, with that, you already know how to transpose. This is really essential for when you have tables that are not in the correct presentation. And with that, we already know the 7 essential tricks that you need to know for Excel. These are really important that you actually memorize how to apply them, when to apply them, and well, what are they good for? Alright guys, you could know nothing else about Excel, but this is a good way of faking you're an Excel master. Alright guys, actually make sure that you're an Excel master, but at least make sure that you know the 7 tricks. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video and make sure that you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Do you want to be an Excel god? Our online course will turn you into an Excel master in only 90 days. Excel is the most important tool in the office, but almost nobody knows how to use it. Most people dive right into Excel with no formal training and never use the right tools. And thus, they end up delivering messy reports that are full of mistakes, and they end up hating their jobs. In reality, Excel is really simple to use and can do your job for you, if you know how to use it. But you have to pick the right place to learn from, or you'll only end up more confused with all of the different tools and functions that Excel has to offer you. So, what can you do? Our Excel course is tailor-made for you. We're going to teach you Excel, all of Excel, using real-life examples. From simple exercises to full-fledged business case studies. Take the online course and you'll be an Excel god in only 90 days. The course consists in more than 45 lessons and 15 case studies, all with their detailed solutions completely recorded in video, and you're going to be able to access them whenever you want, whatever you want. Best of all, you're going to have lifetime access to the course, and you're going to get any of the updates that we're constantly putting out for free. Even better, when you get our course, you'll have free access to our full Visual Basic and Macros course, and also to our Power BI course, all with just one single purchase. More than 3,000 students have passed through our classrooms. We've attended companies like Kodak, IBM, Cemex, HP, Continental, DB Schenker, and more. So, if you want to absolutely master Excel, make sure that you sign up now. You will become an Excel god. A2 Excel.